very much a focus on the Rebbe as a conduit in a certain sense, who brings up the tefillot as a guide, as a spiritual teacher. Great, no, I wouldn't say a conduit, but exactly like that, because we don't never pray to a human being, but as a connection, a great emphasis on joining the service of God, an emphasis of never giving up on ourselves and others. Now, the new approach was opposed by many for numerous reasons. We've explained some of them. There was conflict in the Jewish people for hundreds of years. In fact, they asked Rav Soloveitchik. Rav Soloveitchik went to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He went to his birthday party. And he was close to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rav Yoshe Ber Soloveitchik, who was the rabbi of, he was from the Brisker dynasty, the other side, from the side of the Vilna Gaon. So they said to him, you know, what's going on? The Hasidim at midnight, never used to get on. So he said, after the Holocaust, the camps united us. It's done. That's what he said. It's finished. There's no conflict. But basically, over the years, Hasidim and the whole world has really come together very, very strongly, which is a great thing. At the end of the Baal Shem Tov's life, there were around 10,000 Hasidim. At the end of his life, one person can have a big impact. 10,000 people, and his influence was very strongly until the present day. I think I wrote later on. Let's just see who his students were. Now, his students were Rabbi Yaakov Yosef of Pulna, who wrote various teachings of his, Rabbi Pinchas of Koretz, and Rabbi Dov Ber. Now, Rabbi Dov Ber is well known. He's the Maggid of Mezrich. The Maggid of Mezrich is very well known. He was a person who used to go and inspire people all over the place, and he succeeded the Besh, the Baal Shem Tov, as the leader of the Hasidic movement. Others that came from his lineage later on, for example, a Rebbe of Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Barak was the Maggid of Mezrich, and you had Rebbe Nachman, Rebbe Simcha Bunim of Shischa, the Kotzker Rebbe. These are some, to name a few, of their influence. Now today, first of all, it's very interesting, over 500,000 Hasidim passed away in World War II. In World War II, almost 500,000 Hasidim died, and today it's estimated that there's over 500,000 Hasidim. Estimated, we don't know exactly, but it's at least over 500,000. It's estimated that there's at least over 500,000 Hasidim in the world today. And it's every movement has their problems, but it's been outstanding successful in that way from many perspectives. I'll just tell you that they all had this concept of focusing on the good. There's a great story, that one of my favorite Hasidic stories, which I'm going to share with you at this time, from Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditche. There's a story that when he went to learn about Hasidim, his father-in-law was very upset. In those days, the conflict was quite heated. He said to him, "What did you learn there?" He says, "Very simple." He said, "I learned there that there was a God." So he calls the maidservant. He says to the maidservant, he says, "Tell me something, do you believe in God?" He says, "Of course I believe in God." He says to Rav Levi Yitzchak, you have to go all the way to the Hasidim to learn to know that there's a God. You could have learned it right here. The maidservant knows. So Rav Levi Yitzchak says, "She says it, I know it." She says it, I know it. Means there's a difference between intellectual information, intellectual understanding, and internalized knowledge. Actually, I wrote the message of this week. That's what it means when the Torah says, a chacham leiv. How could you be wise in your heart? You could be wise in your mind, in your brain. What's a chacham leiv? Chacham leiv is someone who transports the wisdom, the concept, the intellectual information from the brain into the very being, into the essence of the heart. That's the Hasidim. And of course, all of them emphasized, again, this great concept of focusing on the good always. Now, the Baal Shem Tov, just like the Vilna Gaon, attempted to go to Eretz Yisrael. He attempted to settle in Eretz Yisrael. He made it as far as Constantinople, but he never made it into the land of Israel. However, he encouraged his students to settle there, and many did so. Even before the students of the Vilna Gaon, they settled in the land of Israel. They were mainly in Tveria and those areas, whereas the Hasidim of the Gaon mainly settled in Yerushalayim. Now, what did he write? Nothing. His works. It's very interesting. The Vilna Gaon wrote a fortune. And in a sense, this is part of the allure, that everything is kept kind of mystical, oral, maybe a little bit even unclear. So his great student, Rabbi Yaakov Yosef Polonia, he wrote the first Hasidic work, which is called Toldos Yaakov Yosef, which contains, and many other works that contain hundreds of quotes of the Baal Shem Tov. Also, the Maggid of Mesrich wrote Baal Shem Tov, etc., etc., and many other books. There's many other Hasidic books that quote the Baal Shem Tov, but he himself never wrote anything. Finally, this over here is the Baal Shem Tov's resting place, which is in Mezibush. Here you see the Baal Shem Tov. This is the building from the outside. It's a very ancient cemetery. Actually, you can't see it over here, but on the right over here, they started a big kollel. When I went to Uman, we stopped by on the way. I stopped by over here. I stopped by the Baal Shem Tov's kever. It was about 1:30 in the morning, and we went to the Beit HaMidrash there, and downstairs they had hot food and hot whatever for all the people coming through. There were hundreds of people coming through on their way to Uman every Erev Rosh Hashanah, just before Rosh Hashanah, and then you come in, there's this place over here. This is inside, you can see Rebbe Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, and right next to him is another great, Rebbe Barak is buried right next to him, another great Hasidic Rebbe is buried right next to him in the same oil, in the same burial place. You see it says there, oil Baal Shem Tov. So, in summary, I would say, I'm going to leave it here, that the Baal Shem Tov introduces a new approach in the sense that the Kabbalistic teachings, and he said it himself, are brought down more into practical thing, practical life, practical living, and even into halakha, more so than was ever done before. That's from a Hasidic perspective. There's this emphasis on serving Hashem with simplicity and humility as being as important and component as Torah study, although Torah study is also very important. And perhaps the greatest, in my opinion, one of the greatest ideas of Chassidut is always to look at the good, to focus on the good, and to serve Hashem with tremendous happiness. And I thank you for listening. Any questions? Yeah.
You reminded me of something that happened, and Dr. Jamie Ben Simon remarked on. Dr. Ben Simon used to go frequently to visit the Rebbe, Schneerson.
Yeah.
And somebody asked him once,